Acting Gauteng Premier Panyaza Lesufi going to be visiting those wounded in the deadly Melville shooting. They're receiving treatment in various hospitals. 2 people dying, to remind you, many others injured when a gunman opened a fire at patrons on New Year's Day. Lesufi will be accompanied by the Community Its Safety MEC, its Faith Mazibuko. Michael Apple, you were following that story. You were there when the night vigil took place. You're now following these officials as they visit those who were injured and affected by this attack.
Yeah, that's right. Good morning, Gareth. I was at that night vigil in Melville outside of Poppy's restaurant where the shooting took place in the early hours of New Year's Day. A lot of New Year's revelers, unclear whether it was fireworks that they were hearing, but tragically when people started dropping to the ground, that's when it was clear to many of the bystanders and eyewitnesses that a vehicle, a black SUV, black BMW X5, we're told, drove past the restaurant and opened fire indiscriminately on the partygoers inside of Poppy's restaurant. The night vigil, I suppose you could call it a great success. There was a big turnout. A lot of Melville residents and some from further, from Eldorado Park, from Westine, gathered outside there. Very obviously a very somber mood, but a feeling of resilience and a commitment that criminals are not going to dictate where residents and partygoers can celebrate and ring in nights like New Year's, and a commitment that they are going to keep coming back to Poppy's restaurant and make sure that 7th Avenue, a very well-known spot in Melville, is going to maintain its sort of well-known tag as being this cosmopolitan mix of everybody who's able to go there and party away the night in relative safety, at least. So Panyaza Lesufi is going to go and meet with many of those who were shot in that incident at Poppy's, but also just maybe an hour after the Poppy's incident, another 11 people would be shot at Mary Fitzgerald Square when a gunman or several gunmen, it's unclear at the moment, opened fire off the M1 bridge into partygoers in Mary Fitzgerald Square in Newtown. So 19 people in total were injured in a very small radius in Johannesburg alone on New Year's Day. The MEC for Education, the now Acting Premier, is going to be meeting with them along with the MEC, and we're going to see if any of those who were injured are up to being able to share any of their memories, if they're able to, of just what exactly went down in the early hours of the 1st of January 2020 and what they can remember.
Obviously not the way the families of those victims are going to want to start 2020, Michael, but of course I imagine many people are going to want to ask the Acting Gauteng Premier, Panyaza Lesufi, how is he now going to handle this? As you say, a number of attacks within a small radius, or a number of people injured in a very small radius. He's the man in charge. I'm sure you're going to ask him those difficult questions. How is he going to get on top of this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, questions need to be asked. It's the nature, it's the unpredictable nature of how exactly the incident at Poppy's went down. We're told it was an altercation between patrons, that there were at least 4 people, according to eyewitnesses, involved, that one of them said he was going to come back, and that is when the drive-by shooting took place. And CCTV footage of the black SUV driving past and firing into the crowd at Poppy's has been released. So you can imagine police on the lookout, obviously, for that vehicle, and would have interviewed all of the eyewitnesses who may know the identity of the suspect. Police have not made that clear at the moment. But then, of course, you deal with an issue like the random, indiscriminate shooting into a crowd at Newtown. If it was on the M1, which the Gauteng provincial government in their statement said it was, there will be a lot of questions to be answered as to why there was not sufficient law enforcement patrolling the M1 highway at that time? Is there potentially any CCTV video footage of that? What is the motive behind this? This is incredibly un-South African. I've heard a lot of people drawing parallels with the United States and these sort of random shootings into large crowds at popular events. It's not something that has happened in South Africa before. Incredibly scary, Gareth.
It is indeed. Michael Apple, thank you very much indeed.